All right, welcome, folks. No matter where you are, no matter what time zone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Thanks so much for logging in today. This is CMMC as a business opportunity. My name is Rick. They like to call me Rick O, as in, oh my goodness. He is a really long last name. No, you're not here for a TED Talk on hacking your toaster today. We're going to be diving into how cybersecurity, as dry sounding as it is, can actually help you win more DoD contracts. Now, if you're in the defense space or you want to get into the defense space, CMMC isn't just a requirement. It's kind of like your golden ticket. So today we're going to be turning what sounds like a chore into a competitive advantage. It's just like broccoli that tastes like money. So gear up, get yourself ready, and again, thanks so much for joining us. So this is a little bit about me, and man, do I have to fix that picture. It's that was about 40 pounds ago, but I am part of Project Spectrum, and Project Spectrum is a DoD-backed initiative designed to help businesses navigate the often confusing and acronym-filled world of cybersecurity compliance. Kind of think of us as the Obi-Wan to you cybersecurity Jedis out there. We're going to be guiding you through the dark side of the regulations. Now, only instead of lightsabers, we're helping you with SSP templates and readiness assessments and all that kind of stuff. So we're not just here to talk about security, we're here to help you leverage it for your growth. So that's about me. Now, before we get started, some quick housekeeping. Your mic is muted, your camera is off, so you're not going to have any control over that. That is on our end. With that said, we want to make sure that we don't want to hear your dog negotiating with the Amazon guy or anything like that. Want to let you know that this webinar is being put on by the Project Spectrum team. We are based out of Maryland. Maryland is a two-party consent state, so I have to let you know that you are part of a recorded webinar, even though your camera is off and your microphone's off. So basically, want to make sure you check your name in the participant list. If it says user 1234 or iPhone of Doom, I don't know, maybe update it to put your name in there so we know exactly who's asking questions. But again, that'll be part of the transcript. That's part of the recorded webinar. You're not on camera. You're not being recorded as far as audio goes, but we need to let you know that that's happening. And if you are uncomfortable being part of a recorded webinar, I'm going to ask that you drop off now. We'll make sure you get a link to the video once it goes up on our YouTube channel. But I'll go ahead and give a couple seconds. Anybody who wants to drop off this recorded webinar, now is your opportunity. All right, terrific. Now, since your microphone is off and your camera is off, how can you ask questions? Well, you can toss those questions into the chat at any time. We're going to make sure that we're saving time at the end to answer. We're also going to be answering questions as we go along. The wonderful Project Spectrum team is here, so just want to make sure that you ask those questions. Please make sure that the chat is kept respectful. Please don't ever disparage anybody else in the chat if they ask a question. Remember, there are no dumb questions, only dumb comments on questions. We want to make sure that you don't promote yourself. Again, this is not a business development opportunity for anybody else, so please don't promote your business, don't promote your site, it's nothing like that. We're all here to learn, we're all here to participate. So let's go ahead and make sure that that sticks with everything that we're trying to do today, which again is learn about CMMC as a business development opportunity. So here's the roadmap for today's session. See, we're going to be talking about why small businesses are being targeted, and yes, they are. We're going to explain the CMMC levels in plain English, and we're going to try to avoid all of the acronym salad that makes it look like you just dropped a box of alphabets on the floor. Do they even still make alphabets? I don't know. Show how CMMC isn't just a compliance task, but it can actually be a sales and business growth tool. We're going to give you some action steps so you can leave here ready to roll. And bonus, if I do my job right, there might even be a laugh or two along the way, or definitely some eye rolling and some face palming. So we're going to see how that goes. Hopefully you find this as informative and entertaining as we're hoping it is going to be. So without any further ado, I want to talk to you a little bit more about Project Spectrum. And let me just double check with my colleague because I can't really see who's all on the webinar. Is anybody else going to be talking about Project Spectrum, or is that going to be me?
Hi, Rick. I think it's all yours.
All me. All right. Excellent. Well, so good. Now I get to talk about it in my way. See, Project Spectrum is like your cyber wingman. We are like a cybersecurity gym membership. Instead of lifting weights, though, you're lifting your security posture and flexing for those federal contracts. See, we're here to help you get strong enough to compete with the big guys through our tools, training, templates, one on one support. Everything we offer is designed to make compliance easier, more affordable, and a lot less intimidating. Remember, we're not here to scare you, we're here to prepare you. So, want to make sure that you understand exactly what Project Spectrum is here to do. All right, so we talked about Project Spectrum and all of the tools, training, resources that we have. All of that goes to cybersecurity. So, why exactly does cybersecurity matter? Well, let's be real. If you think the hackers are only going after the big guys, the Lockheed Martins and the Raytheons, you need to think again. You got to understand that small and medium enterprises, small and medium businesses are on the front lines. And why is that? Well, see, 74% of breaches happen due to human error, like clicking the wrong link or using password as your password. Uh, so all of that happens, and that human error, will happen, especially in the smaller and less experienced companies where you've got people wearing multiple hats. So you got to understand that when you're talking about those cyber incidents, 43% of all cyber attacks target those small and medium sized businesses, and very few of them actually have plans in place to mitigate those attacks. Then you've got the average costs. The average cyber incident, anywhere from $800, $650,000 is the top end, and that's the average. That's the average because it can go into the millions. It's not theoretical. That's pause your operations and explain to your customers real. And so you want to make sure that you have yourself protected. It's like being in a zombie apocalypse where the zombies can code and you forgot how to board up the digital windows. You want to make sure that you're keeping all of your systems, your people, your data safe. And that is really important. That's why cybersecurity is so imperative. Now, again, the smaller the size of the company, the bigger the risk. And why is that? It's because those actors are seeing the smaller companies as a stepping stone to the big guys. They start to think, why should I try to break into the castle or try to go across the moat when I can go right in through the garden gate? And most SMBs don't have dedicated security teams. Your valuable IP, your access to sensitive data, your connectivity with primes, all of that stuff makes you a very attractive target. So you got to remember, if your IT department is a guy who also fixes the printer, that's what this slide is for. This slide is really for you because, again, you've got those limited resources. So let's look at this kind of as the cyber villain, threat actor, rogues gallery. Let's start naming some names. We've got phishing. That's that one innocent email with a shady link, and then boom, everything goes black and you are regretting everything. Ransomware. This shuts down your operations faster than Netflix pulls a series after 2 seasons. You've got IP theft. Imagine giving your secret sauce recipe to your competition. It's really not a good thing to do. Then you've got operational disruption. Production halts, deadlines missed, clients angry. All of that can happen with a single breach. Now remember, we're not fear mongering here. This is the landscape. And we're going to show you how you're going to be able to navigate it a little better, a little smarter, and with a little more confidence. That's where CMMC, or the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification, comes in. This is the DoD's cybersecurity framework. Basically, DoD has said, okay, no more self-policing. If you want to play in the federal sandbox in the defense space, you got to show us that you're safe. It's the security passport to do business with DoD. If you don't have CMMC, in many instances, there's not going to be a contract. And again, with this security passport, like any good passport, you don't want to wait until the week before you travel to get it. Again, DoD isn't here to try to punish businesses. What they're trying to do is they're trying to protect businesses. It's really about raising the bar and helping trustworthy businesses like yours win more work. So you've got your different models. It's kind of like choosing your own cyber adventure. Here's the breakdown. Most smaller businesses, most small and medium businesses are only going to need level one. It's foundational. It's basic practices for handling what's known as FCI, Federal Contract Information. Think of it kind of as Cyber Hygiene 101. Then you've got level two, which is more advanced. And this is for anyone handling controlled unclassified information, or CUI. Now, this requires full NIST 800-171 implementation. Level three is really for the experts. This is for the high risk and top secret stuff. And if you're working on, say, alien spacecraft, that's probably the level that you're going to need is that level three. Again, most of you only need to get maybe as high as level two. Today, we're going to help focus on uh, getting you to understand what it takes to do that and how to turn it into a business development win. So first thing you got to understand is what kind of data are you actually handling? So let's go ahead and untangle some alphabet soup. Again, we've got FCI, which is federal contract information. This is unclassified, but the stuff is still sensitive. It's like contract schedules, reports, internal communications. Remember, if you got it for the government or made it for them, it's probably FCI. Then you've got the next level, which is CUI, controlled unclassified information. And this goes a step further. This is where you start getting into technical drawings, proprietary business info, and anything labeled for official use only or law enforcement sensitive. Again, it's not classified information, but you still really don't want it leaking onto Reddit or being posted on the front page of your website. Again, if you're handling CUI already, congratulations, you're already playing at a higher level. But that means you're going to need to hit CMMC level 2. That's going to be your next move. But if, again, you're not handling that CUI, you're only in FCI, then level 1 is for you. So where exactly do you fit in the CMMC framework? So this is your cheat sheet. Again, if you're only handling FCI, you only need level 1. CUI, you're aiming for either level 2 or in very rare cases, level 3. So this slide is kind of like your cybersecurity roadmap, right? You need to know what data flows through your business before you know what road to take. And here is a pro tip. Many businesses handle CUI without even realizing it, especially when it comes to subcontracts. Just because you didn't generate the data doesn't mean you're not responsible for protecting it. So you have to always keep that in mind. And that's why compliance actually pays off. Let's talk business. You see, CMMC, like we said, is a requirement. It's a requirement of the DoD to win those defense contracts, but it's also a strategic advantage. You see, when your business is CMMC ready, you're not just compliant, you're actually a safe bet for primes and for federal agencies. Remember, the DoD and the prime contractors have learned the hard way that a weak link in the supply chain can bring down the whole system. That weak link, all too often, it's the small business that wasn't prepared. So we want to make sure that you are. When you show up with your cyber house in order, you're already ahead of the game. And that's when the dollar signs are just waiting to appear. So what you need to do is you need to win some trust and win some contracts. Now, let's get in the head of a prime contractor, right? Put yourself in their place. They're juggling multiple, multi-billion dollar contracts. They're responsible for everyone in the supply chain, including your business. So that's when that's when you've got to be able to go to them and say, look, I've got my system security plan. I've submitted my score into the SPURS system. I've got my controls documented. Then they breathe a sigh of relief. They understand you're not a problem, you're part of the solution. That's the kind of trust that translates directly into subcontracts. You need to understand, primes don't just want a vendor. They want a low risk, contract ready partner who's not going to blow their compliance score out of the water. So you need to make sure that you understand that CMMC readiness equals supply chain stability. That's a business differentiator that the primes cannot afford to overlook because they're trying to compete for contracts as well. And you need to show that you are going to be a stronger link as part of their supply chain. So you need to understand that real money equates to real wins. Let's look at the math. So you've got a small aerospace shop in Ohio that spent around $60,000 getting ready for CMMC, right? You're talking documentation, training, security tools. So what happens? Within the next year, they won 2 subcontracts from a tier 1 DoD supplier that's worth more than $3.5 million combined. That investment was less than 2% of the contract value. So you got to realize they probably made that back before the ink was even dry on the contract. So understand, CMMC takes time. It takes effort. And yes, sadly, it takes budget because as much as we would love everything about CMMC to be free, it's not really the case. But you're not just spending money. You are investing in your company's ability to access new revenue streams, new contracts, new customers. So think of it like if this were the TV show Shark Tank. CMMC readiness would be your pitch deck. And that's what's going to get those investors really excited about doing business with your company. We understand you've got all kinds of inspiration. You've got all kinds of great ideas, whether it's a product, whether it's a solution, whether it's an algorithm. You've got innovation. We know it lives in your backyard, but you've got to make people comfortable with working with you and working for them in order for them to reach into their backyard and pull that innovation out and put it to good use. So let's do the math. If you're talking the average CMMC level 2 preparation running between $40,000 and $120,000, depending on your size, your current security setup. I understand that for a lot of businesses, if you're less experienced, you're new to federal contracting, you're new to trying to get into the defense space, you are a startup, it sounds really steep. But what's the average DoD contract actually worth? 250,000 at a minimum to multiple millions of dollars. So you need to realize that your compliance might cost you 3 to 5% of your first win, but everything after that is going to be pure ROI. Plus, this is not a one and done type situation. You're building that durable foundation for future bids and long-term growth. It's kind of like renovating your storefront, right? It's a project, but now everyone wants to shop there because it looks new, it looks shiny, it looks clean, it looks wonderful. So that's what you're really trying to do. You're trying to instill that confidence. Now, understand that first movers win. You know, what was the old saying? The early bird gets the worm. And I know the second mouse gets the cheese, but it has to go around the first mouse, and that can be kind of gross. As enforcement ramps up, and when I talk about enforcement, I'm talking about cybersecurity enforcement. As enforcement of your minimum cybersecurity level ramps up, the playing field starts to shrink, not grow, it shrinks. Because you got to understand that some companies are going to wait. Some companies think, well, I'm going to bid on the federal contract first, and if I get it, then I'll become cybersecurity compliant. Other companies are going to say, nope, too expensive. That's just not something that we're willing to invest in right now. And sadly, that's going to get them right out of the DoD space altogether. So this is where you have the opportunity to stand out and really shine. If you're an early adopter of good cybersecurity hygiene through CMMC, you're the safe, easy choice again for those primes and those agencies. You've got the paperwork, you've got the posture, you've got the polish. And that means when other businesses are still scrambling, you're already set to start winning work. It's like getting the finish line, getting to the finish line. Everyone else is still Googling what NIST 800-171 means. So it's all about making sure that you are putting this information out there and letting people know we're safe, we're cybersecurity compliant, and we're ready to work with you and not be a detriment to your organization, to your project, to your contract. Now, one other reason that CMMC is really attractive, your insurance company is going to love you. Now, this one's easy to overlook, but it is really huge because CMMC compliance does not just help you win contracts. It reduces organizational risk, and that really matters to insurance companies, whether it's the specialized cybersecurity insurance, because remember, your regular property and casualty does not cover cybersecurity. You need a specialized policy for that. But even for your P&C insurance, let me just tell you something. Underwriters are asking, do you use multi-factor authentication? Do you have a documented incident response plan? Are your systems updated and are they defendable? So CMMC readiness is going to help you say yes to all of those. And believe it or not, that really can help you lower your insurance premiums. It can help you improve your insurance coverage, and it can actually reduce your out-of-pocket costs if something goes sideways. It's kind of like, remember how when you used to go to the dentist and right before you went into the dental office, you started brushing and flossing your teeth? It's kind of like that. They might still poke around, but you won't get the side eye as you're sitting in the chair. So, what is the real risk of doing nothing? The real risk is doing nothing. Compliance has a cost, but non-compliance is way more expensive. And I'm not just talking about money. You've got bid exclusion. If you can't prove that you're cyber ready, you're out. You're not even going to get considered. Your SPURS score is low. Primes will ghost you. They're really not looking to work with anybody, again, who's going to be a weak link in their supply chain. You've got legal liability. You need to understand something. Any type of misrepresentation of your business, including your cybersecurity posture, is something that can lead to really bad consequences like fines under the False Claims Act. You don't want to hide anything. You want to be as transparent as possible. Then you've got incident fallout, right? Ransomware, data leaks, operational shutdowns, all of that is going to have consequences, and it's a huge ripple effect. This is definitely the butterfly wing that is going to cause the hurricane halfway across the world. One breach can cost you more than your entire annual payroll. And you want to know the worst part? You may never see the bid you lost just because you didn't even make the cut. You need to know that non-compliance is going to have its own price tag, and it's going in the opposite direction. You're going into the red. So when you're talking about CMMC, again, you can use this as a business development tool. You can turn compliance into a sales tool. Switching gears, once you've done the work, now put it to work for you, put it to use for you. Companies all the time have badges that they put up on their social media, that they put up on their website, they put in their email signature. We're a 5-star sustainability partner. We're a champion to whatever cause and such. CMMC compliance is one of those things. This is one of those stories that can help you win work by, again, telling that story in your proposals. We have put in the work. We have put in the effort. We have really done everything that we needed to do and then some to make sure that we are ready to roll. Then you've got standing out in supplier portals, okay? It's amazing when you're in the supplier portal and the next thing you know, it's, okay, wow, these folks are really ready. You can check that box, cybersecurity compliance. You're building trust with potential primes or even the primes that you work with now. This is something, again, they're going to be really amped to do business with you if you can show that you can keep up your end of the bargain and keep their data and your systems and their systems safe. And another thing you're doing is giving your business development team new and credible talking points, right? Because again, if you can show that your organization, your company has gone through all of the steps it needed to go through in order to up your cybersecurity hygiene, it really shows that you're a responsible company, you're forward thinking, and you're looking out not just for yourself, but you're looking out for the others that are going to be doing business with you. You got to remember, CMMC, it's not just about passing an audit. You're showing the world, you're showing those decision makers that your business takes security seriously. And this is a world full of uncertainty. And in a world of uncertainty, the safe bet is the one that everybody's going to want to go with. And that is and could be you if you, again, make CMMC work for you. Speaking of which, you're giving your team the right words because the truth is your cybersecurity work doesn't mean much if your business development, your marketing teams, your sales teams don't quite know how to talk about it. So what you need to do is make sure that you are equipping them with simple and confident messaging. Like we've implemented all 110 NIST 800-171 controls. We've submitted our SPURS score and maintain a current system security plan. Our infrastructure is secure not just for audits, but for daily operations. Remember, these aren't just talking points. They're great talking points, but they're not just talking points. They're trust signals. You can use them in meetings. You can use them in capability statements, in briefings. You can even put it in your email signature if you're feeling bold. But it really is something that's going to show people that you're a company that can be taken seriously and that can be trusted to do business with. So you need to put your compliance where the evaluators are. You got to understand that proposals are a great place to flex those cyber readiness muscles, but only if you tend to do it strategically. You need to understand most proposals have that technical approach or technical capabilities section. That again is your opportunity to say that you've implemented this many controls, you've submitted the score to the SPURS system using the DoD assessment methodology, you're actively preparing for CMMC level 2 certification with a certified third-party assessor. You've got all of these things that you can really put in there. And then bonus points. If you reference your actual SSP or POAM, Plan of Action and Milestones, that's even better. And what's even better than that is if you include your favorable SPURS score. Now, again, to most people outside of the defense industry, that SPURS score isn't going to mean a whole lot. But those in the defense industry, your SPURS score could be pretty impressive, especially if it's higher than somebody else's SPURS score. It's like, adding that glowing Yelp review to your restaurant. You always want to make sure that you get that. Or if you're a Google user, a Google review, because I don't want to exclude the Google reviewers. I know not everybody goes on Yelp. Now, when you're talking about integrating this into proposals, you reduce the risk and you win the favor of folks. Prime contractors, again, they're juggling a lot. They've got costs, they've got compliance, they've got schedules. And let's be honest, they've got drama. They've got plenty of drama with subcontractors, with suppliers, with pretty much everybody, even internally. So if you're walking in amidst all of that they are juggling, and you've got a documented security system plan, you've got your latest SPURS score, you've got that engagement with a certified third-party assessor underway, you've got that clear timeline for certification for CMMC compliance. We don't call it certification, we call it compliance. You've got that clear timeline for compliance. You're instantly going to make that prime contractor's life easier. You're going to be a go-to vendor for that prime contractor. Now, one thing you can very easily do, you can offer to sign a flow down data handling agreement. Now you're the subcontractor that they are actually wanting to keep around. And you want to make sure you don't let your resume sell you short. Your capability statement is often the first and maybe only chance that you're going to get to make an impression when you're going in and trying to build these new relationships. So you want to make sure that it says more than, we make cool stuff or we're innovative. Again, you want to show that you're aligned with CMMC. You want to show that you've implemented NIST 800-171. You want to show that you've submitted your SPURS score, your key security highlights like MFA, endpoint protection, and tested incident response plans. You've got DFARS compliance or ITAR registration if applicable. Remember, all of these things are going to help you really ramp things up. You're not just building parts, you're not just putting together algorithms, you're not just having processes, you're building trust. You want to let your security posture speak for you. Now, you also want to make sure that you're searchable and not invisible. You need to realize that most primes and DoD buyers start with online portals like SPURS, like SAM.gov, like ExoStar. If you're not showing your readiness there, you're basically invisible. Again, this needs to be upfront. You really need to show that you've got all of this compliance, you've got all of this cybersecurity maturity. So it's all about showing your readiness. You want to keep your SPURS score current. You want to make sure that your SAM.gov certification is updated, especially under the DFARS clauses that are relevant. Like DFARS 7012, right? Then you add your CMMC level or your NIST 800-171 implemented badge to your profile. Include keywords like secure, SPURS submitted scores, CUI ready. Those are great things to say, right? Some portals even like to auto prioritize vendors based on terms like that. So remember, you don't want to bury your strengths. You want to optimize those strengths. You want to make sure that they're out front and center. It's kind of like Google and your keywords. You want those keywords to be there. You want them to be searchable. You want to let people know that that stuff is out there. You've earned this. Brag about it. Once you've earned it, you should brag about it. You should utilize it as much as you possibly can. So what you can do next, you got to understand, once you've got the knowledge, then you got to start taking the next steps. And let's talk about those a little bit. Again, it's all about supplier registrations, right? So make sure you're understanding what you need to do. You're assessing your posture. Do that gap analysis. See where your controls stand. Update your SSP. Get your system security plan in order. Make sure you're creating a POAM document, what's missing and how you'll fix it. So, all of this stuff is what you're really looking to do, right? Because again, it's all about making sure that you are in the best position to go forward. So again, putting all of that together, tagging your CMMC level, your 800-171 status and keywords, using the portal to, this is all going to be very helpful. And, again, so we were talking about that, assessing your current posture, right? Because this really is where you need to go. You need to really make sure that you are jamming all of this information out there and that it is really helping you because again, these steps are very actionable. You need to make sure that you're getting all this together. You need to make sure that you're putting the information out there and that people know about it and that you're really helping. You've got to market it. You've got to make sure that you are, you're internally, you're training your team on how to talk about your cybersecurity posture. You are building cheat sheets for proposal writers and business development reps. You're aligning sales scripts with your compliance language, right? Externally, you want to make sure you're updating that capability statement. You want to make sure that you're refreshing your website and your social profiles. You want to make sure that you're mentioning your CMMC journey and client conversations. Again, don't bury your readiness because it's all about that. This is about momentum. This is not about perfection. You don't have to do everything all at once. You just need to keep moving forward. So again, like we talked about, that whole internal and external. It's all about making sure that the conversations are happening, but they're happening naturally. Okay. Again, it's kind of like bragging on something that has nothing to do with the topic that anybody else is talking about. It's really not going to help you. So you need to make sure that you're making people comfortable. You're giving them those talking points. You're giving them the cheat sheets. You're letting them know this is what things mean. But you also have to make sure that you're not trying to overstep things, right? So, one example that we always get is, people will go through the process. They'll be talking about we're ready for cybersecurity compliance, and then somebody will ask a question about something that is above your pay grade. Because again, if you're business development or your sales or your marketing, or again, you're the CEO of the company, you're the person who's responsible for the company, but you're not the person who's necessarily handling all the system admin duties. If somebody asks you a question that you don't know, don't be afraid to say, I don't know the answer to that. You can let them know that you have somebody who handles that. It's again making sure that the messaging is organic, making sure that it flows very well. And then again, secure those funding resources and grants for all of the compliance activities. You've got a host of people out there who are willing to help you with this type of stuff. The Manufacturing Extension Partnership. This is something that Project Spectrum has worked with for years and years. They have centers, they've got resources. There are state cybersecurity grants, SBA and DoD programs. There are cost sharing arrangements with primes. Make sure you update your business development strategy to include all of those resources and incorporate them into your planning. And then again, make sure you're building all of that internal accountability. You've got compliance versus business development roles. It's establishing ownership and accountability across your team. You know who's responsible for what, who's going to be talking about what, and who is going to be answering the questions if somebody asks, because there will be questions. It's kind of like school. There will be a test, and you want to make sure that you are getting yourself in there as needed, because it's going to be a really crazy thing. You want to make sure that you have all of that information. And again, smart companies build readiness without breaking the bank. And showing that your company is a smart company is what's really going to help you. So when you're talking about, again, addressing common objections, right? A lot of the smaller and mid-sized companies get stuck on the idea that CMMC compliance is way too much effort, it's too costly, it's simply not for them. Again, this is not something that you want to do. Address the eye rolling ahead of time. And here are some of the common objections. And again, we hear this all the time from people. It's too expensive. You got to realize this isn't a discretionary cost. It's the cost of entry to a multi-billion-dollar marketplace. And ROI is often more than 10 times what you think it's even going to be, but it's often more than 10 times the spend. So when you've got that 10 times ROI, I think it then becomes very strategic to get yourself into that mindset. We don't handle CUI. You might not think so. But again, if you're part of a subcontract or supplier flow down, you probably do, or you will soon. So sometimes it's better to be ready for something ahead of time and be prepared for when somebody does come along and says, okay, so we want you to be part of this contract, but you're going to have to handle CUI. If you say, oh, we're already prepared to handle CUI, then fantastic. You're, again, ahead of the curve. We're too small. Look, Cyber attacks don't discriminate by size. I'm going to tell you that right now. Cyber criminals love small businesses because they are often easier to breach. This isn't about your size, it's about exposure. So, again, no more excuses. Don't make excuses. You've got way more to gain through CMMC compliance than you might think. So, we've got some proof it works. It is story time. Everybody gather round while I tell you a true tale about a smaller company who just happened to make all of this work. You see, you've got this 25-person machine shop in Ohio. Again, you might have remembered this from earlier in the presentation, but we're going to go into this a little more and a lot more in depth, actually. They never worked on a government contract before. So what did they do? They decided to partner with their manufacturing extension partnership office. They did their NIST 800-171 gap assessment. They implemented multi-factor authentication. They set up endpoint protection, and then they submitted their SPUR score. So what was the outcome? Well, a tier 1 prime issued an RFQ. They were one of only 2 businesses that qualified, and they ended up winning a 3-year, $2.3 million contract. That's their first DoD win ever, and it was for 3 years, $2.3 million. Now, they're a preferred supplier. Why? Because they got ahead of the compliance curve. Remember, this could be you. You could be this company. You could put yourself in these shoes. You could be ahead of the curve. You could get yourself ready to go ahead and jump into that multi-billion-dollar marketplace and get that huge return on investment with just one contract. So it's all about making sure that you have the right cyber toolkit, right? We've talked strategy, so now we're going to talk tools. These are the go-to platforms that the DoD and the primes actually care about. You've got the SPURS. This is the Supplier Performance Risk System. Kind of think of it as your CMMC GPA, right? This is your score or your IQ test. You've got the DoD CUI registry. If you're not sure what counts as CUI, this is where you would want to start. It's going to give you all of this information. Then you've got the Cyber AB Marketplace, okay, the Cyber Advisory Board. You want to find a C3PAO, which is Certified Third-Party Assessor. It is not a droid from Star Wars. Or you want to find a registered provider organization. Again, the Cyber AB Marketplace, this is the matchmaking site for compliance. Then you've got your NIST 800-171 resources. These are templates, these are guidance, technical references straight from the source. And always keep in mind, this is not something that you need to DIY from scratch, okay? A lot of this stuff is built out for you. It's ready, it's there. All you need to do is reach out and take it. So make sure you're doing that. And then again, who's got the money to help? If we're talking money, and we're not talking your money, we're not talking about borrowing money, there's actual funding support that's available to help cover the cost of compliance. But you, again, have to go after it. It's like those loans and grants for going back to school. You've got to go out and see what's available and try to grab as much of it as you can. The Manufacturing Extension Partnership Centers. These folks love helping manufacturing businesses. They often offer heavily discounted or even free assessments. Again, everyone is going to be a little different, but you got to see what's available through your local MEP office. Your state programs. We have states that offer grant matching, cyber upgrade funds. Some even offer tax credits for compliant. If we have anybody in Virginia, or Texas or California, pay attention. Those tax credits are huge. Then you've got prime funded assistance. I know this sounds crazy, but again, if a prime contractor really wants to work with you because your innovative solution, your innovative product is something that is going to help make them better, sometimes those big guys are going to help chip in to get you where you need to be in order for you to work with them. So you need to understand if you're a critical supplier or a sole source, you can ask about that flow down funding. It's not charity. It's not charity at all. It's not charity from the primes. It's not charity from the states. It's not charity from the MEPs. It's strategic investment from all of these different stakeholders who want you secure. They want to see you succeed because your success, again, is all of our success. Because cybersecurity, again, for anybody who doesn't think that it is a national security concern, it really is because that weak link in the supply chain, any threat actor takes down a company, it gives them a blueprint for how to do it in other areas. It gives them an opportunity to disrupt things. We don't want them to have any of that advantage. One of my great colleagues and friends has said multiple times, and I still love this quote from him, I never want to be in a fair fight. I always want every advantage. So take every advantage you possibly can. Now, this is where Project Spectrum can really help. Again, we sort of talked before about how Project Spectrum has tools and artifacts and services and resources. We really do. All of this information is available for you. When you go and register with Project Spectrum, there's no cost to register. There's no registration fee. There's no annual fee for getting onto the site. We don't sell your data. We don't do anything like that. You register, it's free to register. You then get access to everything that we have on the site. That includes SSP templates. So again, no need to create one from scratch. We're not creating one for you. We're just giving you the template that you can then follow. You've got the POAM tools. You've got help on finding your SPUR score, getting your SPUR score, and submitting your SPUR score. You've got our self-assessment dashboards. And then further down the line, if you need it, we've got one-on-one advisory sessions with real humans. We don't use AI bots that are trying to sell you crypto. It's not all about that. But we give that option. We give you the option to go and get in front of somebody who's a real live person, somebody who's been there, and somebody who's done that. Take a look at our previous webinars. We had one, Cyber Circuits, just recently with one of our cyber advisors who used to be a customer. You know, it's kind of like those old shaving ads. You know, I like the razor so much, I bought the company. Well, he liked Project Spectrum so much that he came to work for us because he saw how helpful Project Spectrum was, and now he's helping other companies like the one he used to work for. Now, we also offer ongoing training. We offer webinars like this one. We have blogs, we have news updates. We're always trying to keep our finger on the pulse of what's going on. It's like REI, right? We're the REI of cyber readiness. We don't just sell gear, we show you how to climb. So we're trying to make sure that you are getting everything that you possibly need to be as successful as you can along your cybersecurity compliance journey. All right, we have covered a lot. So this is where we're going to open up the floor. Going to ask you again if you could just drop questions into the chat, and we are trying to answer as many of them as we possibly can. And then we're going to go ahead and you know, read a few of these out and answer some of these. So Chip had asked, I'm noting a lot of contract efforts coming across SAM with CUI headers and footers. They seem to be FCI. Is there some work to help sort this out between the operational sensitive vice contract versus contract sensitive? So our cyber advisor jumped in, and you know, again, our cyber advisors are great, and you got to understand, you know, one of the ways you can get this resolved, and the best approach for now, is to request clarification, like a data designation letter. If the marking isn't clear, you treat the data as FCI unless it's explicitly identified as CUI with the right clauses and categories. So, you know, again, we're going to work with you. We want to make sure that you have that success. So when you have these questions, you come to us, you ask us, our folks will help you out. We will get you that information. Parker asked, Is there an estimated time for the availability of templates similar to CMMC level 1 for level 2 or level 2 at Project Spectrum? Um, we don't have a set timeline, right? We're really working on it diligently right now, but we want to get it right. It's kind of like one of those instances where you're trying to change the tire as you're driving down the road at 65 miles an hour, and trying to make sure that the car doesn't catch on fire. That's kind of what we're doing. Okay, we absolutely will let you know we're hard at work on it. We want to make sure we get it right so that we're not putting it out and then saying, oh, remember what we told you last week? Throw that away. We're going to come back with it in another week or two. So again, stick with us. We're going to give you all of the information that you need, but we're going to get it to you when we can get it to you the best way. Kenny asked, cost is one big barrier in CMMC. Yes, we have absolutely heard that. Why is it that many companies embarking on CMMC readiness want to do it at the lowest cost? Is lowest cost the way to go? I think security is expensive. It can save your business and your life. So why is it that the perception is that CMMC compliance has to be low cost? How can we change that perception that companies have to spend at least 1% of their total annual revenues for CMC initiatives? Let me just say this. There was a really great comedian who kind of put this a fantastic way the one time. He was driving into a city to a gig, and he saw this billboard that said lowest cost LASIK surgery. If somebody's coming near your eye with a laser, do you really want to go with the person who's going to do it for the cheapest price? I don't think you do. I think you want the best that you can afford. Remember, because there's the best and there's the best you can afford. You're not going to get a Cadillac on a Kia budget, but you can get a really nice Kia with a Kia budget. Understood? So again, you do have to have that mindset. You do really need to understand that the cost is something that's going to be recouped. You don't want to do it at the cheapest. You don't want to hire the cheapest contractor to put the new wing on your offices, because you want to make sure that when you accidentally slam the front door, that the whole front of the building doesn't crumble in. Okay, we've got another remark here. It's interesting. This is interesting, is the way we've been trained that companies not put out information about their SPUR score, as it might open a company to being under attack. Well, so again, putting out your SPUR score. If your SPUR score is high, you can show that you are cyber ready. Now, yes, are there always going to be threat actors that are going to take that as a challenge? Sadly, unfortunately, yes. But this is, again, it's not something that you would put in your email signature. It's not something that you would put on the front page of your website, but it is something that you could put into proposals. You're talking about keeping this information secure with who you're sharing it with. You're not putting it out to the world. But your SPUR score, again, if you are going out and you are bidding on a contract, or you are trying to develop a relationship with a prime contractor so that you become a supplier or a subcontractor, a SPUR score, telling them a SPUR score, that's a good thing to do, not something you want to put on the front page of your website. So understand that we've got a lot of conversation going on in the chat. Again, we think that's great. Discourse is fantastic. Hopefully everybody is being respectful. I'm not able to see the chat right now because I'm staring at a screen with my slides in front of me. But again, we're really thankful that everybody is, really thankful that everybody is engaging in this concept, engaging in this conversation. Remember, we're here to help you. We're not here to judge. Every company has to start somewhere. And if you're here in this webinar, or you're watching this webinar video, for those who are watching it later, especially those who jumped off because they said, I don't want to be part of a recorded webinar, you're already ahead of the curve, because again, you're trying to jump ahead. You're trying to make sure that you're in there. So again, if you have questions, we are here to help. Please keep those questions coming. Please send those questions in. We will make sure that we get you answers. And so that leads me into my next area, which is if you need a lifeline later. Remember the old game show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? There's a bonus point if you did get that reference. You know, and I think there's even still a version on TV, but it's, you know, part of daytime TV. But again, you've got that lifeline. Even after today, you need to remember that you're not alone. Project Spectrum is here. We are here to help. So how do you connect with us? You go to our website, projectspectrum.io. You can email us, kind of the old fashioned way. It's almost like snail mail, support@projectspectrum.io. We have launched a virtual help desk that is right on our website. This gives visitors another way to reach out to our team of cyber advisors. All you have to do is on our website, click that orange question mark in the bottom right hand corner of the screen. That's going to connect you with one of our cyber advisors. So again, you can ask your questions there. That is really something that is going to help you. It's kind of like the bat signal, but for compliance questions. So please make sure that you are using it. So I just want to let you know that my brilliant colleague, Mark, is going to be dropping a feedback survey link into the chat. He's going to be dropping it like it's hot. We would certainly love to hear what you think, the good, the bad, or, you know, even the, oh, please never use that font again. Or if I hear another dad joke from Rico, I'm going to bang my head off of my computer screen. Again, apologies for that. I just try to be a little entertaining. But remember, whatever input you're going to give us, it helps us to craft even better webinars and possibly avoid more or less tasteful dad jokes. So again, thanks in advance for keeping us on our toes. So in closing, I want to say, let's make cybersecurity your business's superpower. Thanks so much for being here. You could have spent this time watching cat videos on YouTube or rewatching Top Gun Maverick, which was a pretty decent movie, by the way. Tom Cruise still going at it. Got to give him all the credit in the world. But what you decided to do instead, you chose to prepare your business for the future. And I'm going to tell you, that really matters. CMMC isn't just about checklists. It's about earning trust. It's about unlocking contracts. And it's about future-proofing your business. If you take one thing away from today's webinar, let it be this. Cyber readiness isn't overhead. It's opportunity. It's not overhead. It's opportunity. So get yourself cyber secure, get your cybersecurity compliance in order, and then go win some work. Again, thanks so much for the Project Spectrum team for being here to back me up. Thanks so much for all of you for attending today's webinar. Thank you to all of our Project Spectrum registered users for helping support us, and keep your eyes peeled, because we're going to have more webinars. We're going to be back again next week with another Cyber Circuits. We certainly appreciate you joining us. We thank you very much for your time and for your, again, continued support and for all of your questions. And we wish you the absolute best in your compliance journey. Again, thanks so much for joining, and have yourself a great rest of the day.